let's roll on. Oh yeah, after that injury we discussed on the 2017 Lions tour, like you're then injured and in and out of rugby, and then you start getting in like some altercations with some abusive fans on social media. Like we talked about these sort of things with Ryan as well and Max, and but how hard did you find being like in the spotlight and attacked on social media and a target, if you will?
I think it was after that injury, like I'd maintained a shoulder niggle for like the best part of 9 months to go on that tour. I remember coming back, I smashed my eye socket, I came back, had my shoulder reconstructed. I played 3 games of rugby when I got back. I was out for 4 months, came back, played 3 games of rugby, ripped my iliopsoas muscle in my gut. Was out for 3 months with that, came back, popped my right shoulder. And like that was when all the kind of stuff started. Like all my injuries happened all at the kind of the one season. And then I was getting like abuse all the time saying, oh, he's never going to be back to where he was and all that kind of thing. And I was like, that was the first time I'd really got like abuse because I'd came off the back of like Six Nations Player of the Year back to back. And everything was fine and dandy. And then that was about the only time or the first time I started getting abuse. And I was like, nah, like stuff this. Like I'm going to prove you wrong. Ended up like making double the mistakes. And then I was really bad at that age for like biting back at people online, which is a recipe for disaster because all they do is wind you up a little bit more about it. But I mean, it took me a while. It took me a couple of years first and foremost to get over that tour, then to get over the injuries, and then to get over like the initial social media abuse. Whereas now, like I look back on it and gone, I can't change it all, but would I handled it a little bit different? Yes, I probably would. I've not had my Twitter for 3 years. As soon as I was given the Scotland captaincy, I was one of the Gregor's agreements was that I came off social media or like handed it. So I was like, yeah, I'll delete it, Gregor. I'll delete it. I'll be fine. And my agency were like, yeah, no, you can't delete it. We'll run it for you. So they've run my Twitter for the last 3 years. And it's actually been quite refreshing. But when you don't read it on Twitter, you still get shed loads of it on Instagram. And I'm at a stage now that I've taken all my message requests and all that off because it was just getting too much. Like I was getting like so much shit the whole time. It got to the point that because people couldn't message me, they started messaging my wife and like
Oh fuck,
giving like shit out to her about me and all that kind of stuff and saying that like she can't be proud of her husband and all that kind of stuff and like the kids must be embarrassed and all that. And I was like, geez. And I was like, right, Jill, like you get all your message requests to shit as well. Like, but no, it's weird because on the flip side of that, like I want to use my profile in the best way possible. The worst thing for the social media abuse is that you take like for me now on Twitter, like I was good for interacting with people. Like I enjoyed the chat and the banter and stuff like that, but then just got all too much that I was like, well, the people that abuse me, I've almost ruined it for the people that have been, kind to me. I don't miss Twitter. But on Instagram, it's the same. Like at the end of the day, like people think because we're sportsmen, we've just got this hierarchy that, well, we've got everything that we want and life's playing like a piece of piss and we've got the dream job or whatever. They completely forget that we're judged on 80 minutes of our week. 80 minutes of our week. Whereas the rest of the week we're a normal human being that has to be a husband, to be a dad, like all these little bits and pieces. We're normal human beings. But people think that we're entitled wankers that need to get abused all the time.
I'm obviously wired up different. I know I was my hate mail probably wasn't mine wasn't as bad as yours, I guess, but I actually quite enjoy reading them for some reason. It makes me laugh.
You love
Yeah,
this.
but the thing for me, like I'm not exactly somebody that hides away from shit. Like I've had my hair done, I've had my teeth done, like all that different bits and pieces. Like I don't mind. Like for years I was just abused on my rugby. Now I just get abused on my parents. Like nothing comes from a rugby point of view.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the heck? Like I put a thing out. I think it was the autumn. I was like, judge me on my performance. Like judge my rugby 100%. Like I can take that because I can always get better at that or whatever. But don't judge somebody's appearance because that's personal.
Oh,
Like
there's
I'm
some
doing everything I possibly can. I'm doing everything I can to be in a position to make myself feel good. That on the receiving end of it, I'm just getting shit. I'm like, well, and the worst thing is like people always say that oh, you shouldn't be in a position to read that. That's fine saying that because people that say that have not been on the receiving end of abuse. constant, like daily. I'd put a photo up of Jill and I being at a wedding, and I'd get abuse about my hair or my teeth, or like it's like a Colgate advert because Jill's got nice teeth as well. I'm like, well, you know what? Fuck you. Like, I've had enough of this. Like, and I'd be lying to say that it's not played a part in like that. You had all the like loads of different bits and pieces up about retirement. I'd be lying to say that that kind of stuff's not like is not been included.
Yeah, well, it's draining. Drains the life out of you.
Oh, mate. Oh, it does, mate. It does. But like, my body's knackered. I'm doing everything I possibly can to get out in the rugby pitch at the minute to play well. To then receive so much shit on the back of it, I'm like, well, nah, not for me. You know what I mean? So it's a tiny little part of it, but hopefully once I retire and my new employer, whoever that may be, I can potentially speak my mind online without getting a ban.
Oggy, do take us through that, because the retirement call seemingly coming out of nowhere, like shocking the rugby world in a way. Run us through exactly what happened and why.
I've been thinking it for a while, mate. To be honest, like, so we look at the disappointment of the 17 Lions tour, and I'm picking up all the injuries and then kind of starting to get all the hate. It took me a while to get over the disappointment of that tour. So then for the next couple of years, ahead of the 21 Lions tour, I was like, right, this is my time. I'm going to go all out to make sure I get on this tour. And I was chuffed to bits, like over the moon to be in a position to go on a third tour. And I was like, right, I didn't see myself as a proper Lion until I got a test match. And if I didn't get a test match to this day, I still wouldn't believe I'm a proper Lion. So I targeted that from an individual point of view. Like, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get there. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But the only thing, when you look back on it and thinking, right, you've looked at Lions tours for years on end. We played a Lions tour in South Africa against South Africa with nobody in the stands. And I was like, well, you know, for me, I dreamt up of being like doing everything I possibly could to have like an unbelievable time on Lions tours. And it was the same for everybody. Like, you know, some people will never get another Lions tour, but I'd experienced other ones, so we were kind of lucky. Some boys will play on that Lions tour that'll probably never go again, but that's their only memory and experience of a Lions tour is behind closed doors. Since then, I've really, really struggled with my body. Like, I've done everything to get there. I've got patella tendonitis in both knees, worse in the right than it is in the left, but I'd struggled I remember speaking to boys, and like older boys are like, you get to a certain point in your career and it just hits you. Bang, it just hits you. And I was like, no, it'll never happen to me. Never happened to me. In 2021, after the Six Nations, that time came. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, holy shit, what's happened to you? And it was just like game on game. I was just trying to do everything I possibly could to build up to play. And then went on Lions tour, had an extended time off, came back, didn't do any pre-season training or anything like that. I was just like, wanted to mentally switch off and recharge. Came back in, done a couple of weeks of training, straight back into playing. And I played a lot of rugby that season. And then the body just started to break down. And I was doing I worked closely with Steve Hogg, our physio at the club, and he's been absolutely outstanding. Like, literally spending hours on end every single day on the physio bed to get right. And I've just got to the point that having a young family, I'm just, you know, my son, it breaks my heart when my son comes up to me and says, Dad, do you want to go play football in the garden after training? And I'm absolutely knackered. I'm in too much pain that I can't even go outside. And I'm like, no, that's like, enough's enough. Like, family's my priority. And rugby started to become a job. Like, I wasn't enjoying it as much as I used to because of the way my body was feeling. And then losing the Scotland captaincy, I just felt like time had come for a change. And whether the change would be not being Scotland captain, because it is, you know, a high pressure environment, you take a lot on yourself, which I love doing. And I thought the change might be not being the Scotland captain. But in that autumn tests, I felt I was doing the exact same job as I was doing when I was captain. And I was like, the change isn't really here. And I sat down at length with Jill, with my parents, with Rob at the club, with Gregor, and just said, I believe now's my time to pull away. And ever since making a decision, I've felt like a completely different person. Like feel at ease. I feel like there's a monkey being lifted off my back, and I'm now in a position that I'm doing everything I can to make sure I'm fit and well to play, but I'm going to have like the most enjoyable time I've ever had on the rugby field, because I know that, you know, it could end in a few weeks' time, or it could end after the World Cup. So I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get to the World Cup. And then, yeah, like I'm genuinely excited about life after rugby and moving back to Scotland and being around all my family. I've been away for 14 years now, from home. So yeah, it's time to get the English accents knocked out the kids, I reckon.
He's gutted about that. He doesn't stop
like you,
about that. He's worried his kids have got English accents and mine have got Glaswegian ones. But the real reason you want to move closer to me so I can come and drink at your pub in Hoyk.
Well, you can do whatever you want, mate. You can do whatever you want. The only thing is you're going to have to run it past my dad first.
It's funny though, how it all comes around, Hoggy. Like I'm on sort of a similar sort of boat, but you spend your whole like career like striving for something and stressing yourself out, but then suddenly you realize again what the whole point is. And so now you know the end's coming. You want to enjoy it as much as possible. So yeah, in a way, you're sort of lucky that it doesn't end like that. You've got an opportunity now to fucking enjoy it, eh?
Like it's my 14th season at it. You know what I mean? Like I'm at ease with what I've done, and I'm excited about, you know, for me, from a family point of view, going back home, having a completely different career. Like I've never, you know, I've been very lucky. I came straight out of school into rugby. Like I'm going to have to go into the real world, which I'm actually really quite excited about. But yeah, like you get the freedom to do what you want type thing now. That's what I'm excited about. But could I have played for a little bit longer? I don't know, potentially, but I'm not giving myself that opportunity. I'm at ease. Like I wish I had this feeling that I've got now a couple of years ago, in terms of like the freedom to play and enjoy it, because the last few weeks I've been jumping into work with a spring in my step, going, right, let's go. Like I'm fit and ready to play again. Whereas for years I've been like, no, like I'm absolutely knackered and beat. I can't be bothered.
What's on the horizon?
Mate, genuine, at this moment in time, like we've got a plan with the agency about what we'd potentially like to do, but right now there's nothing set in stone. And you know, if I decide to do the World Cup prep, then it buys myself a little bit of time. I can get to October time before I have to step into the real world. But as of July the 31st, I'm unemployed. So if anybody out there listening wants to give a little ginger freckly Scottish kid a job, then I'm all for it.
Oh, and me. I'll come work at Tesco's with you.
Mate, honestly, we'll do it. I'll meet you just shy of Edinburgh.